Okay, so the recording has started. I'll just go back that saying that we have been taking up the history of agriculture, and different scientists have been having different views as far as the origin of agriculture is concerned. And thus we come to, after Saur, we come to the use of N.I. Vavilov. He is a Russian, and he says that there are seven centers as far as origin of cultivation is concerned. Southwest Asia, that's the Mesopotamian area, the plains between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, where presently the present Iraq, Iran is. He says that soft wheat, rye, flax, and fruit-bearing trees of apples, pears, sweet cherries, grapes are there, and then peas and carrots as well. The second region, he says, is India, the Ganga Valley, the India Peninsula, and Indochina Peninsula. Indochina Peninsula means Thailand, Vietnam, all those areas as such. The plants were cultivated here for the first time, being rice, barley, big millet, and bulrush millet. Okay, soybean, sugarcane, cotton, tropical fruit trees, and wild paddy as such. Then he says that the third area is eastern and central China. Eastern and central China, because western China, most of it is a desert, cold desert. They grew juicy fruits, particularly apricot. Then you have tea and mulberry. No wonder you'll see that silk became to be a very coveted product from China. Animals were rarely used on the fields, and usually manual labor was employed. That's a very interesting thing here, as such. And it is from this agricultural center that agriculture spread to Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, the Mediterranean basin. This, according to Vavilov, includes Italy, Austria, Balkan Peninsula, Asia Minor, Syria, Israel, Egypt, Tunisia, Algiers, and Morocco. Now, if you see the history of this, this also happens to be the Silk Route, from where the silk used to travel from China all the way to the Roman Empire, and so on and so forth. So it's all these countries lie on that particular route as such. Then you'll see that the hilly region of Eastern Africa, particularly Ethiopia, as I said, that the richness of the minerals that the Nile brings in is basically because of one tributary of the Nile arising from the highlands of Ethiopia. So, and it is these regions that, by the way, it would be necessary that you know these places. And these are very important when you would say that, okay, we have done a special paper in agriculture. We should be knowing these regions, okay, say Ethiopia and other regions, Indochina Peninsula, which are the major countries, and so on and so forth. South Mexico, here maize, cotton, and cocoa were cultivated for the first time. Then you come to Peru and Bolivia. Okay, Bolivia is a landlocked country in South America, and Peru is just next to it. So potato is said to have cultivated. Now these are views of Vavilov. Okay, you'll see that there could be other things also. However, the experts in archaeology do not accept the views of Vavilov. That's why I said that these are views of Vavilov. The abundance of certain variety of plant in a certain region can be due to various factors. It can happen due to variation in climate, migration of people on large scale. Basically, and when these people migrate from one region to other, they would be carrying the local characteristics of agriculture. And as I've said, and as it is written here, that there are differences in results of research conducted by botanists and archaeologists. So they continuously are at difference of opinion from each other as such. Okay, then we come to two other people, Cecil Cron. He says that the origin of agriculture can be accessed from Egypt's early settlement. The time of origin of agriculture is assessed to be around 5000 BC. So you see that people are of different opinion, and we need to know who is of what opinion. The archaeological excavations indicated that these people not only hunted animals and caught fish, but they also domesticated animals like cattle, sheep, and goats, and also cultivated wheat and two types of barley. Okay, but you'll see that Cecil is basically speaking about Egypt and the surrounding areas, and he is of a view. that agriculture originates around Egypt as such. Then we come to views of Joseph Ward Swain. He says that agriculture originated in the Neolithic period. Neolithic, if you remember, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. Stone Age च्या शेवटी Neolithic period. And he confirms to what earlier people also have said, that Neolithic period in the Middle East, and the first of the plants to be cultivated were wheat and barley. Neolithic Egyptians, he says, cultivated oats, flax, peas, and other vegetables. Mesopotamians added beans, lentils, and carrots. The date palm, now I would say की याची जर तुम्ही मराठी नावं बघितली तर हे तुमच्या लक्षात राहण्याकरता सोपं राहील. बीन्स म्हणजे काय, लेंटिल्स म्हणजे काय, अँड सो ऑन अँड सो फोर्थ. बार्लीला मराठीमध्ये काय म्हणतात हे जेव्हा तुम्ही पॅरलली व्हॅल्युएट कराल तेव्हा ते तुमच्या लक्षात चांगलं राहील. Date palms, obviously a native of Arabia and Mesopotamia, and olive is the native of North Africa. The wine of Syria, and all these crops were cultivated during the Neolithic times. The farming methods were very primitive and people used to poke holes. Okay, आता आपण नांगर चालवतो किंवा वेगवेगळे अवजारं वापरतो. You see that it was not that advanced. Okay, people used to poke holes in the ground and sticks with sticks. Okay, अशी खुपसायची ती काडी जमिनीमध्ये आणि त्याच्यामध्ये ते बी पेरायचं म्हणजे टाकायचं आणि वरनं माती टाकून ते हे करायचं, पाणी दे. Further, he says that agriculture originated in the Neolithic period in the Middle East, and the first plants to be cultivated were wheat and barley. The farming methods were very primitive, he says, and people poked holes. We have just said that. The primitive plow did not appear until about 3000 BC. नांगराचा शोध जो आहे हा साधारण इसवी सन पूर्व 3000, म्हणजे जवळजवळ 7000 वर्ष इट वॉज विदाउट एनी प्लाव एज सच. Grain was harvested with sickles. Sickles म्हणजे कोयता असतो. Okay, made by fastening small flints to curved sticks as such. Okay, flint म्हणजे एक धारदार असा दगड असतो, की त्याला तुम्ही धार करू शकता. Okay, flint is that belongs to that particular category. Because of this, farmers were forced to lead a sedentary life. म्हणजे एका ठिकाणी स्थापित होणं. Okay, ॲग्रिकल्चर म्हणजे जिथे पूर्वी कसं असायचं, इट यूज टू बी स्लॅश अँड बर्न, एका ठिकाणावरनं दुसऱ्या ठिकाणावरनं थर्ड प्लेस अँड सो ऑन अँड सो फोर्थ. But you'll see that very broader type of agricultural practices led to people being forced to live a sedentary life. म्हणजे एका ठिकाणी वस्ती तयार करणे थोडक्यात आणि तिथेच राहणे. South India constituted of a second independent agricultural region. Okay, म्हणजे you would say this is South India starts from to the south of Vindhyas, let us say. इथून पुढे खाली साऊथला. Crops raised here were during the first half of the 2000 BC. In the northwest of Deccan Plateau, rice was grown, northwest of Deccan Plateau. Wheat, cotton, flax, lentils were cultivated as such. In 1000 BC in Gangetic Valley, the advent of Indo-Aryan tribes, plows began to be used. Okay, so till then they were not used in the Gangetic Valley, only after 1000 BC. In China, the evidence of Neolithic period is available from the Wangho Valley. Okay, Wangho आणि Yangtze आणि सिक्यांग अशी 3 मेजर रिव्हर्स आहेत चायनाच्या. त्यात वँगो आणि यँगस्टी ह्या मेन आहेत. त्यात इथे यांनी वँगो साधारण एक वर्ल्ड मॅप बघून कुठली नदी कुठे आहे हा साधारण अंदाज घेणं अपेक्षित आहे पीजीच्या स्टुडंट्सकडून. People were engaged in cultivation of millets. Now, what are millets? मराठीमध्ये बघून घ्या. Then the history of mankind shows 4 stages of development. Savage stage when man was a hunter and gatherer. त्याच्यानंतर he went into a herdsman or nomadic stage in which man domesticated animals. त्याच्यानंतर farming stage आली आणि farming आल्या he had to settle down, and that is why the moment man settles down he starts to build a civilization as such. Some who advocated that agriculture originated when men passed from hunting to gathering, hunting and gathering, that's 9000 to 7000, to food producing in the Middle East. Others advocate it originated in Southeast Asia and believe that it to be in North China. As research proceeds, more light will be thrown on this problem. याच्यावरून आपल्याला हे कळतं की अजून सुद्धा it is not confirmed Different scientists are saying that agriculture probably came up in different parts of the world, and there is still no consensus. Okay, fine. Major consensus is की Mesopotamian region मध्ये हे झालं असेल. But there are scientists who say no, possibly not. There are other regions where this could have been cultivated. So that's what Joseph Swain had to say. Then you come to a stage wherein फ्युडल सिस्टम, फ्युडल म्हणजे आपल्याकडे जमीनदारी जी आहे ही आपल्याकडनं उगम झालेला नसून ही फ्युडल सिस्टम ही युरोपमधनं आलेली आहे. फ्युडल सिस्टम हॅज हॅड अ ग्रेट इम्पॉर्टन्स इन एव्होल्युशन ऑफ ॲग्रिकल्चरल सिस्टम. 8th सेंचुरीमध्ये याचा उगम झाला साधारण नॉर्दर्न फ्रान्समध्ये, and it gradually spread out throughout the Western Europe and reached its zenith in the 12th century. म्हणजे 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, जवळजवळ 500 वर्ष ही फ्युडल सिस्टम चालू होती. आणि त्याच्यानंतर इन युरोप इट सडनली डिक्लाइन. पॉसिबली युल सी दॅट जे हिस्ट्रीचे स्टुडंट्स आहेत त्यांना माहिती की 12व्या शतकानंतर रेनेझॉन came up in Europe, and possibly it was because of the Renaissance that the feudal system gradually declined as such. The economic unit was that the basis of feudal society was a rural estate, and which was called as manor. जे इंग्लिश पुस्तकं किंवा सिरियल्स पाहत असतील या मॅनर संस्कृतीवर बरेचसे सिरियल्स आणि पुस्तकं सुद्धा लिहिली गेलेली आहे. अ 3-field system in operation. Some fields of the manor were used as pasture. याचं चित्र तुम्हाला I don't know whether I have posted the PDF for history of agriculture. If I have not posted, please let me know. I will post the PDF of history of agriculture into our group, and in that you have a typical picture of a manor. Okay, and some fields of the manor were used as pasture. Each village had a forest close by, and most of the land was under plow. फर्टिलायझर वगैरे काही वापरायची गरज नव्हती तेव्हा. फक्त ऑर्गॅनिक मॅन्युअर जो आहे की वॉज यूज टू कीप द फर्टिलिटी ऑफ द सॉइल. But many times even manure was not available. Remember, this is Europe, so the sun's heat is not that much. Insolation is low. As a consequence, you'll see that decomposition of material, organic material into manure will take time. So obviously they followed what is called as crop rotation and fallowing. म्हणजे एखादा season you keep the surface fallow so that it regains its lost minerals, etc. And crop rotation also was practiced so that from one patch to the other, when they rotated the crops, the minerals came to be replenished as such. Then the peasants plowed and harvested these tips, but the produce went to the lord of the manor. म्हणजे तो जमीनदार, lord of the manor म्हणजे थोडक्यात आपण मराठीमध्ये त्याला जमीनदार म्हणूया. The manor system began to decline in the 14th and the 15th century, and it almost disappeared from Europe by the 16th century. म्हणजे एकेकाळचे हे जे श्रीमंत लोक होते, you'll see the industrial revolution आलं, and then people started moving into city areas, and city areas gained more prominence, and possibly because of that आपल्याकडे जी आता परिस्थिती आहे की ॲग्रिकल्चरमध्ये तुम्हाला हे मिळणं अवघड झालेलं आहे, लेबर मिळणं अवघड झालेलं आहे. सो सिमिलर थिंग मे हॅव हॅपन्ड बिकॉज people started shifting to urban areas by the 16th century. So this could be one of the major reasons why the manor system declined by the 16th century as such. After the feudal system, we come to the industrial revolution. You'll see that the industrial revolution followed the feudal system, I would say. The second half of the 18th century, it started in Britain, the industrial revolution. Operations were done manually. Operations that were done manually began to be performed by machines, and the impact of the industrial revolution was such that the economic fabric of Europe that was based on agriculture became industrial. So there was a complete shift by the 19th century की सगळी ऍक्टिव्हिटी ही ऍग्रिकल्चर बेस्ड होती. This suddenly shifted to industry based by around 19th century. म्हणजे 18वं शतक जे 1801 पासून पुढे it started shifting, आणि using all these machines they started making new experiments in agriculture. New crops were introduced. new agricultural implements like steel plow, so that त्याला ती strength जी आहे, okay, and the indented harrow was invented, and the new methods of plowing, sowing, threshing, and harvesting were introduced. Uh, One thing that came up with industry was chemical fertilizers began to be used on a large scale, and finer breeds of cattle and sheep were discovered, की जे जास्त दूध देतील, ज्यांचं मीट जे आहे हे जास्त असेल. Okay, so that is how it started growing the agriculture after the industrial revolution as such. The abandoning of the practice of fallowing led to sufficient increase in net sow. कारण कसं असायचं पूर्वी फ्युडल सिस्टम अँड बिफोर दॅट, तुमचा प्रोड्यूस कमी झाला की तुम्ही ते मोकळं माळरान म्हणून ठेवायचे. दॅट्स कॉल्ड एज फॅलोईंग. आणि ऑब्व्हियसली इफ यू आर गोइंग टू लेट अलोन अ पर्टिक्युलर स्ट्रेच ऑफ लँड, त्याच्यातनं तुम्हाला प्रोड्यूस मिळणार नाहीये. पण आता तुम्ही काय करत होता की फॅलोईंग तुम्ही बाजूला ठेवलं होतं, आणि तुम्ही त्यामुळे कसं आहे की आता सगळीकडेच तुम्ही काहीतरी कल्टिवेट करत होता. सो द इफेक्टिव्ह नेट्स ऑन एरिया स्टार्टेड इन्क्रीजिंग. म्हणजे अगदी मार्शी लँड असू देत किंवा इवन वेस्ट लँड वर रिक्लेम्ड बाय व्हेरियस सायंटिफिक मेथड्स अँड वर ब्रॉट अंडर द प्लॉ. And that is why you'll see that Britain's agricultural revolution led to an increase in production. And this was not only happening in Britain, this was also happening in other parts of Europe also. After the Industrial Revolution, the major portion of the world's population, which lived in villages and whose all needs were met in the village, began to migrate to the town. मी मगाशी म्हटलं तसं की income sources began to increase towards the urban areas, and that's why people started shifting to the towns in search of livelihood. Okay, let me tell you that in the zamindari system, it was literally like a slavery, and that's why people were not very happy. कारण जर ते happy असते तर ते move झाले नसते urban areas मध्ये. So obviously when they found a better option, okay, they started migrating towards the towns. Okay. Further, you'll see key in the beginning of the 20th century, there was an amazing progress in transport and communication. So that was another thing that industrial revolution brought about to to the whole process of agricultural development. Now, your question would be, sir, how is it that transport and communication is going to enhance the growth of agriculture? You'll see that transport and communication are going to allow you to send your products to longer distances. Okay, and as you send them for longer distances, obviously you have further scope to increase the produce. Okay, so that is why transport was very important. And even today, one of the major problems you can see as far as Indian agriculture is concerned, particularly during the monsoon, आपण वर्षभराचं नाही म्हणत आहोत, monsoon and त्याच्यानंतर जी चिकचिक होते, connectivity of the farmer to the main roads has been a a serious problem as far as Indian agriculture is concerned. I think we have discussed this point very faintly in an earlier lecture also. Then towards the end of the 19th century and in the 20th century, the capitalists of Europe, this is a very important stage again in the development of agriculture as an output of industrial revolution. They initiated a new system of agriculture in tropical and subtropical regions of the world. याला म्हणायचं प्लांटेशन ॲग्रिकल्चर. ओके, यांनी काय केलं की त्यांच्या इकडे जे प्रोडक्ट्स ग्रो होत नव्हते, बट दे वॉन्टेड दीज प्रोडक्ट्स देअर. Okay, they started moving into the tropical areas. The tropical area कॉबीज करायचा, तिकडची शेती काढायची किंवा तिकडचं फॉरेस्ट काढायची, and you start what is called as plantation agriculture. A particular crop, like say for example tea तिकडे ग्रो होत नव्हता, कॉफी तिकडे ग्रो होत नव्हता. Both of them were in great demand there. Industrial revolution required rubber. So products like tea, coffee, rubber initially were organized on factory lines, in the sense कि hundreds and hundreds of acres used to be planted with all these things, and ह्याचा product जो आहे, they used to export it all the way to, or take it out all the way to the European market as such. This was possible basically because of the technical knowledge that these people had. The management staff अगदी हे प्रोफेशनली केलं जायचं की याच्यावर एक मॅनेजर ठेवला जायचा आणि तो मॅनेजर सगळीकडे लक्ष ठेवून असायचं. मग तिथे ॲग्रिकल्चरल इम्प्लिमेंट्स, मशिनरी, फर्टिलायझर, इन्सेक्टिसाइड्स, पेस्टिसाइड्सचा मुबलक असा उपयोग केला जायचा. आणि ट्रान्सपोर्ट फॅसिलिटीज वर वेल अरेंज्ड इन द मोस्ट ऑर्गनाइज्ड मॅनर. आणि याचा इम्पॅक्ट तुम्हाला आज सुद्धा मेजर ट्रान्सपोर्ट लाईन्स इन साऊथ अमेरिका आणि ऑस्ट्रेलिया तुम्ही पाहिले तर मेजर towns to start with in Australia, southern parts of Africa, and South America also. Okay, you'll see that Rio de Janeiro असू दे किंवा ऑस्ट्रेलियाच्या मेजर सिटीज असू दे, all these have coastal locations. If you look into the logic, why should this Cape Town असू दे, why is it that these places had a coastal location? Okay, because it was from these ports that ships used to collect all the material from the interior parts of the respective continents, and it used to be taken all the way into the European markets. Okay, so transportation played a very important role as far as plantation agriculture was concerned. आणि मग पोर्ट पासून आत जिथे तुमच्या एस्टेट्स आहेत, सो कॉल्ड एस्टेट्स, मग टी एस्टेट, कॉफी एस्टेट, रबर एस्टेट असतील, आणि अगदी नॉट नेसेसरली ओनली साऊथ अमेरिका, ऑस्ट्रेलिया वगैरे वगैरे, सी दॅट मलेशिया, श्रीलंका, एशियन रिजन्स मध्ये सुद्धा यू हॅड दिस. And the connectivity between the estates and the ports was very good, okay, so that they could move it very fast as such. And in fact, you see here the imprints are, you can see them today also in many tropical regions. You come across rubber, tea, coffee, cocoa, sugarcane. Apan pahato Paschim Maharashtra मध्ये sugarcane. Of course, this is out of cooperative sector. This did not happen out of the capitalist thing as such. But then cotton, again, jute. Okay, you'll see that jute was one of the major products which came from Bengal. Okay, West Bengal as well as East Bengal. East Bengal was the then Bangladesh. Okay, and West Bengal आजचं जे आहे. So ईस्ट बेंगॉल मध्ये सगळं कल्टिवेशन व्हायचं ज्यूटचं, आणि त्याच्या ज्या प्रोसेसिंग युनिट्स होते हे कलकत्ता आणि त्याच्या आजूबाजूला होते. सो दिस वॉज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन these two parts of Bengal at that point of time. That's during the capitalist period, okay, or the British rule as such. Okay, and then fruits मध्ये banana असू दे, pineapple असू दे, all these used to be done at a very large scale. That's called as the plantation scale, factory lines as such. Okay, then comes in one part of the world you have what are called as collective farms. Okay, Russia मध्ये क्रांती झाली around 20th century, and this brought about a revolution which affected the system of agriculture also. Actually, there were two types of farms that came up in Russia. This is the first type of it, collective farms, and we're going to do the second type also. The cultivated lands were converted into collective farms. Okay, they were called as kolkhozes as such. Okay, याच्यामध्ये काय असायचं तर fields were supposed to be a common property. तिथे तोपर्यंत तिथे बरीचशी जमीनदारी वगैरे चालायची बरं का रशियामध्ये. you'll see that कम्युनिझम आला तिकडे आणि दिस वॉज सपोज टू बी अ कॉमन प्रॉपर्टी. एका दिवशी सगळं जाहीर करण्यात आलं की ऑल ऑफ दिस इज अ कॉमन प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ प्रेझेंट्स ऑर पीपल वर्किंग ऑन इट. म्हणजे कसेल त्याची जमीन, आपल्याकडे जे नंतर आलं ते इट केम अप इन रशिया फर्स्ट. कसेल त्याची जमीन, जो तिकडे काम करत असेल त्याची ती जमीन झाली. दे ग्रो क्रॉप्स अकॉर्डिंग टू, बट देर वर सम कलेक्टिव्ह फॉर्म्स म्हटल्यावर त्याच्या कोऑपरेटिव्ह बेसिसवर चालायचं. ते कल्टिवेशन जे असायचं हे थोडंसं प्री प्लॅन स्कीम मध्ये टाकायचं. एव्हरी कलेक्टिव्ह फार्म हॅड अ मॅनेजर, अँड द मॅनेजर इज टोल्ड अबाउट व्हरायटी ऑफ क्रॉप्स दॅट आर टू बी ग्रोन. म्हणजे वर्ण त्याला निर्देश यायचे की हा क्रॉप घ्यायचा. द एंटायर प्रोड्यूस वॉज सोल्ड टू द स्टेट ॲट अ फिक्स्ड प्राइस. म्हणजे तुमचं गव्हर्नमेंट जे आहे हे सगळं प्रोड्यूस तुमचं विकत घेणार. इफ द प्रोड्यूस वॉज मोर दॅन what was fixed, the manager could sell it off excess produce in the market, and the income could be divided in the farmers of the collective farm. म्हणजे तुम्हाला तुमचं गव्हर्नमेंट सांगायचं की तुमच्या एवढ्या एकरातनं आम्हाला एवढं धान्य मिळालं पाहिजे, की तेवढं तुम्ही आम्हाला दिलं की त्याच्यावर जर तुम्हाला असेल तर ते तुम्ही विकू शकता. आणि विकलं अर्थात जेव्हा गव्हर्नमेंट तुमच्याकडनं प्रोडक्ट घ्यायचं त्याला एक ठरलेली प्राइस असायची, ती प्राइस तुम्हाला मिळायची. पण त्याच्यापेक्षा जास्त तुमचं कल्टिवेशन झालं तर यू कुड ऑब्वियसली सेल इट इन द मार्केट. आणि द मॅनेजर यूज टू डू सो. आणि वन्स इट इज डन की हे त्या शेतकऱ्यांना त्याच्यामध्ये वाटा मिळायचा त्या प्रॉफिटमध्ये. ओके, बिकॉज इट वॉज controlled by the government, okay, the communist government as such, you'll see that tractor stations were established. Tractor was very important at that particular point of time. आणि the farm manager could hire tractors and other machines, and in lieu त्यांना थोडंसं धान्य हे त्या ट्रॅक्टर स्टेशनच्या मॅनेजरला थोडंसं धान्य दिलं जायचं. Okay, so you'll see that this was a practice of cooperative farming, which was they also called as collective farming as such. Besides this, you'll see that they also practice what are called as state farms. State farms म्हणजे गव्हर्नमेंटनी केलेली फार्मिंग. कल्टिवेशन ऑफ these farms were done by people appointed by the government. म्हणजे नोकरीला जातात तशी लोक या गव्हर्नमेंटकडे नोकरीला असायची आणि ते फार्मिंग करायचे. आणि सगळं कॅपिटल वगैरे जे काय असायचं हे सगळं गव्हर्नमेंटकडनं इन्व्हेस्ट केलं जायचं. स्टेट फार्म्स वर एक्सपेरिमेंटल फार्म्स, म्हणजे कुठलं पीक जास्त येतंय, कुठलं बी चांगलं आहे, कुठलं फर्टिलायझर वापरायचं, कुठलं इन्सेक्टिसाइड वापरायचं, हे सगळं स्टेट फार्म्सवर आपल्याकडं आजची जी रिसर्च सेंटर्स आहेत की ॲग्रिकल्चरल रिसर्च सेंटर्स, इट वॉज ऑन दॅट लाईन, बट द स्केल वॉज मच लार्जर ॲज सच. द वर्क ऑफ ऑन द एक्सपेरिमेंटल फार्म मोस्टली रिलेट्स टू प्रोडक्शन. ॲव्हरेज एरिया प्रचंड मोठे असायचे, साधारण 10,000 हेक्टरपासनं 10,000 हेक्टर ॲव्हरेज साईज असायची याची, आणि याच्यावर 500 ते 700 लोक ही कामाला असायची. आणि साहजिक आहे की एवढ्या ह्याच्यावर मग इतरही ब्रीडिंग चालायचं, म्हणजे साधारण 4,000-4,500 कॅटल, गाई म्हशी, गाई पर्टिक्युलरली, नॉट बफेलोज. बफेलोज मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर फाउंड इन इंडिया, पाकिस्तान आणि बांगलादेश. लेट मी टेल यू, जगातले 90% बफेलोज ह्या या 3 देशांमध्ये सापडतात, की यू कॅन चेक दिस फॅक्ट. अँड साधारण एक 5,000 शीप गोट, मग हे मीट करता असेल, हे मिल्क करता असेल, हे हाईड्स करता असेल, की for various reasons, but such big farms did have a support of domesticated animals also. Okay. Another important stage, I would say, in development of history of agriculture is irrigation. Okay, not that irrigation was new and invented and used only after industrial revolution. You'll see that presently you'll see that Southeast Asia, irrigation provides a huge amount of a great help for agriculture. It was used as a practice in agriculture in olden times also, but the scale at which irrigation was practiced was much less as compared to what scale of irrigation you have these days. If you see in the last 50 years, there is huge progress that has taken place as far as throughout the world in the field of irrigation is concerned. And as I said, that the difference between today's irrigation and the irrigation 6,000 years ago was that the scale particularly as such. Okay. Thus you'll see that around 1800 AD, साधारण 19व्या शतकामध्ये, द एंटायर लँड इरिगेशनच्या खाली असणारं एक साधारण 10 million हेक्टर्स, म्हणजे 10 दशलक्ष हेक्टर एवढंच होतं. अँड इन द नेक्स्ट 200 years इट रोज टू 200 million हेक्टर्स, म्हणजे जवळजवळ 200 पट त्याच्यामध्ये वाढ झालेली, 20 पट त्याच्यामध्ये वाढ झालेली दिसते आपल्याला 200 वर्षामध्ये. अँड इरिगेशनचा मेन सोर्स इज बेसिकली डॅम्स. So one of the first huge dams was built in 1932. USA inaugurated the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. की भारतातल्या बऱ्याचशा ज्या सिस्टीम्स आहेत याच्यावर डिपेंडंट आहेत किंवा याच्यावर आयडिया बेस केलेल्या आहेत. याच्या इरिगेशन रिक्वायरमेंट्स तर याच्यातनं झाल्यात, बट इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन असू दे, नॅव्हिगेशन असू दे. The dam was also built to check floods, कारण that was again a serious problem across the Tennessee River in the United States of America. आणि एकदा हे केलं की मग अफॉरेस्टेशन आणि त्याच्या मार्फत इरोजन कंट्रोल करण्यात आलं. On a very similar scale, you'll see that after independence, India also adopted a number of multi-purpose river valley projects, okay, which not only provided irrigation but helped producing electricity also. Current India was a power-starved country till then. Okay, so right from the Hirakud Dam to the Damodar Valley Corporation, this was one of the first of such type of corporations to come up. The Damodar River, the Kosi River, they were supposed to be the sorrow of Bihar at particular point. दरवर्षी इकडे पूर येणार आणि अतिशय नासधूस होणार. सो द DVC initially and then the Kosi Valley Corporation, the KVC. Okay, and then you have the Tungabhadra Development Scheme, the Bhakra Nangal. Okay, all of these were used for irrigation as such. Okay, so that's the world scenario as well as the Indian scenario as far as irrigation is concerned, which then comes to be followed by the Green Revolution. Let me just check how far I have. I'll just introduce Green Revolution and I'll stop for today. And tomorrow we will not have our lecture because I have some assignment in the college. I have a meeting, so we will not have a lecture tomorrow. We will have a lecture on Saturday. Okay, the Green Revolution started somewhere around 1960s. Last 35 years, agricultural production, particularly that of wheat and rice. Okay, you'll see that Green Revolution is seen to have affected positively in wheat and rice only. Okay, they experience great spurt, and this increase in the production and this increase in the yield, particularly production तर वाढतच होतं. नवीन जागा तुम्ही अक्वायर केली की तिथे तुम्ही शेती केल्यावर तुमचं प्रोडक्शन वाढणार आहे. But Green Revolution brought in an increase in yield of wheat and rice. That was the most important thing, and that's why that's called as the Green Revolution. As many developing countries during this particular period, okay, you see that the growth rate of agriculture was less than the growth rate of population. That was a difficult thing that was happening during the 60s. India fortunately had a lower say population growth rate as compared to uh, agricultural production, but very soon population was to take over. So obviously India was also interested in the Green Revolution as such, and as consequence, you'll see that in 1966 India imported 20,000 tons of high yielding variety seeds of wheat from Mexico. This was called as the miracle seed because of the yield that it generated, and the application of this seed led to a substantial increase in wheat production. You'll see that in 1960-61, the wheat production was only 11 million tons. मी तुम्हाला मागे सांगितलं की टोटल फूड ग्रेन प्रोडक्शन की हे सुरुवातीला काहीतरी 40 million tons होतं, and by 2000 it went up to 200 million tons. So exclusively for wheat, if you see, from a mere 11 million tons in around 60-61, by around 99-2000 it went up to 75 million tons. म्हणजे 11 7 77. साधारण 7 पट याच्यामध्ये ग्रोथ झाली किंवा इन्क्रीज इन प्रोडक्शन झालं. Most of this was attributed to the high yielding variety seeds that were used through Green Revolution in states like Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh. As such, हा सगळा एरिया जिथे irrigation was easily possible because of the Bhakra Nangal and other dams, you'll see that it increased huge. The secret of the success of high yielding variety of wheat lies in two factors: heavy doses of chemical fertilizers and copious irrigation. प्रचंड प्रमाणात irrigation आणि अलॉंग विथ दॅट केमिकल फर्टिलायझर्सचा उपयोग प्रचंड प्रमाणात व्हायला लागला. त्याचे ॲडव्हर्स इम्पॅक्ट आपल्याला सध्या दिसत आहे. Cancer is on a growth wherever there has been chemical use of chemical fertilizers for a very long period of time. अशा ठिकाणी तुम्हाला कॅन्सरचं प्रमाण जास्त दिसतं. Okay. Besides India, you'll see that the area under high yielding variety includes Pakistan, Turkey, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Philippines, towards Philippines दोनदा झालं. But Philippines मध्ये it was more related to rice rather than wheat. Okay, कारण तुम्ही फिलिपाईन्सचं लोकेशन बघितलं तर पाऊस प्रचंड प्रमाणात पडतो इथे, आणि दीज आर व्हॉल्कॅनिक आयलंड्स, आणि पाऊस आणि volcanic soil जर आपण पाहिली तर that helps in cultivation of rice. So by 1960s it became end of 1960s it became self-sufficient in regard to rice. World Research Center on rice on rice cultivation also is placed in Philippines as such. So these are the major countries which experience the fruits, I would say, of Green Revolution apart from India as such. Now I would be stopping here for the day, and what I'll do is I will close this here now, and I will stop the recording also.